Wrestling with the Future's live and on the air. And we're joined tonight by not one, but three very special guests. Two of them are incredibly beautiful, and one I wouldn't give you a dime for. I love you, Gary. Gary Arnold is joining us. He is my guest co-host tonight. As you all know by now, Jeff the Ref Robinson passed away this Saturday evening, and this show has a large gaping hole right in the center of it. We will dedicate this show to Jeff the Ref and his memory, and he will always be a part of Wrestling with the Future. So, Gary, welcome to the show, or should I call you Livid?
Either one's fine, but thank you. I appreciate having me.
You're quite welcome. I'm going to call you Gary. Now, Gary has worked for Vanguard Championship Wrestling. Gary's also a part of Next Revolution Wrestling and Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, as well as a number of local and national promotions. So, Gary, your character is Livid the Clown, yet another reason to hate clowns. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And joining us are two beautiful ladies, joined by Jeff the Ref's favorite 10, his perfect 10, his only 10, Nickla Roberts, the one and only Babydoll. And Babydoll has her Babydoll with her tonight, Samantha Starr. Samantha, Babydoll, welcome to the show. You're waving. Oh, jeez. So, Nickla, you've been here before, and you know the chaos that has ensued. It's going to be probably a much more subdued show tonight. Thank you for bringing Samantha with us.
I can barely hear you. Let me try something else. You want to try to do my phone and do the earbuds?
Yeah, or we can move it in there really quick.
All right, give us a minute. We're gonna work on something and come right back because it sounds really robotic and we can barely hear you. Give us 1 minute and I'll call you right back.
Okay, sure.
Now, could we set up the phone like this?
Okay, Gary. So you and I will talk for a minute, Gary, while Nickla is getting herself together. So how did you know Jeff?
I met Jeff when I started training here in Virginia Beach. He had messaged me because he had seen something someone had posted or tagged me in, and we just started talking all the time from that point on. And then later on, I started getting on VCW, and he was a security guard.
Yeah.
He also went to the same school I did, but he graduated the year that I went in.
Yeah, I tell you what, he was a larger-than-life character, and this show is certainly not the same without him. So I thank you for jumping into them big shoes tonight.
Yeah, he's gonna be missed really a lot by so many people.
Gary, it's no lie. I talked to from Saturday until now. I'll bet you I've talked to literally over 2,000 people.
Yeah,
and I'm not even kidding. Either text, message, Facebook, or phone.
Yeah.
Because my phone was blowing up for 3 days.
Yeah, one of the other security guards called me probably 20 minutes after he was pronounced dead.
Yeah, I found out 5 minutes later. Not the phone call that I wanted to get, brother.
Nope.
Not at all.
But I mean, at least he passed watching wrestling.
Yeah, exactly what he wanted to do.
Yeah. So and that's like the same thing with me. I watched wrestling since I was probably 3 years old with my great granddaddy, and when I would go over his house every Saturday morning with his daughter and my grandma, and we'd go over there and eat Bojangles biscuits and watch NWA Power Hour. At 9:05 on TBS, and we did this every single Saturday. And after the power, me and my grandma, we go garage sailing and stuff. But when I was 8 years old, or no, 9, me and my grandma went over there, and we were there a little bit early, so I didn't feel like watching Bonanza.
Bonanza.
And
you mean he watched something other than wrestling?
Well, it came on before wrestling on TBS.
Oh, I got you.
There might have been.
Shit.
It was one of them, Gunsmoke or Bonanza. I can't really remember. But I went out to the backyard because he built me a swing, and I went out there because we were there a little early, and then I heard my grandma screaming, and so I go running in the house, and she's crawling on the floor going into the kitchen because we're in a tri-level house. She's crawling up the stairs from the den. And I go over to my granddaddy, and I start smacking him on the leg, telling him, something's wrong with Granny. Something's wrong with Granny. I thought he was sleeping. And then right at that moment, the wrestling started in the background. He was waiting for us to get there.
Got it.
And he passed away in that chair before we got there.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's incredible. Here we go. Here's Nikki. Let's bring Nikki back in. There you go.
Hey, much better.
Oh, there you go. Terrific.
All right, let's get set up here. Yeah, this sounds 10 times better.
Oh, that's great, Nickla. Thank you. Yeah, you were coming through a bit garbled there, young lady.
Okay. Well, it was probably our connection, and I live up in the mountains, and sometimes our Wi-Fi just doesn't work the way it should.
Yeah, I understand. That's okay. This is live, folks.
Sorry.
What happened?
That's just so bad.
Well, and then you've got a 50-year-old woman trying to figure out how to do this.
That's okay. Here you go.
Is that better?
That's perfect. It's the perfect 20.
and good video, good audio, everything's good?
Excellent.
Okay.
It doesn't get any more perfect than
Dude, that's 10 times better.
than the perfect knockout and the perfect 10, right?
There you go.
Absolutely. Well, look, this is live, so it happens. You know, these things happen.
Hey, we got it figured out, and we're two blondes, so that's amazing.
I love it, right?
We're blonde
I love
and bleach our hair, so woohoo!
So while I already know Nickla, and I think I know Samantha Starr fairly well by this point. I spent the last week watching you. So I'm going to turn to Gary for just a moment while he's here. And say, Gary, you're working for Vanguard. You're working for Next Revolution Wrestling. You also work for Mid-Atlantic. How did you get started in business, young man?
I watched wrestling, a lot as a child, and I always wanted to be a wrestler.
Right.
And I started seeking out schools when I was 19, and as I found one, I was going to go to Florida. I ended up having a daughter, so I ended up just learning the trade and put it on hold. And once my daughter was 13, I started training here in Virginia Beach, and I've been doing it for the last 6 years.
And who'd you train with?
I trained with Southside Pro Wrestling.
Okay, sure.
And then I went to as many seminars as I can go, and I still do to this day. I
Excellent.
Anything I can, constantly learning.
Never stop learning, young man. Never stop learning. And how did you develop your character, Livid the Clown? By the way, I've seen evil clowns in wrestling, but Livid the Clown is the most evil, disgusting, vile wrestling clown I've ever seen.
Well, that's
kudos to you.
That's not true. Everybody loves Livid the Clown.
I know.
He's so popular. It's crazy.
I know I'm ribbing you, brother. Yeah, no, it's a really interesting character. It really is. Speaking of characters, I got two of them with me right here. In case you're just joining the show, I am joined by Nickla Roberts, Tully Blanchard's Perfect 10, Babydoll. And by the way, Nickla, kudos on the shout out on AEW, by the way.
Right? Wasn't that awesome? That's really cool.
That was a sweet moment for me. I thought, yes, my listenership just went up.
There you go. And I'm not only Tully's Perfect 10, I'm your Perfect 10.
There you go. Absolutely. And Nickla Roberts has with her Perfect 10, the perfect knockout, Samantha Starr. How you doing there, young lady?
I am doing well. I'm all right.
So you are a multi-generational wrestler now. You come from a long line, long history. Let's talk right off the bat about the pressure of having to perform, being Babydoll's daughter, and among the likes of Jake the Snake and Grizzly Smith and people like that.
It was, it's hard to explain. All right. So I was raised by my mom. My dad was not in my life until I was about 16 years old.
Okay.
So whenever my mom was on like larger wrestling signings, I would get to go. And I didn't understand like how amazing the events actually were. Going and getting to hang out and stealing beef jerky, not stealing, but hanging out with Dr. Death Steve Williams and him like feeding me and my sister beef jerky, and how people would have killed for that. But here we are just hanging out with this legend, and how that was my lifestyle growing up, was being around people that everyone envied and everyone looked up to and everyone idolized, and I'm just like back there 8 years old shooting the shit with these guys.
How about eating food with Bubba Rogers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Big Bubba.
So it was crazy experiences that I didn't understand the weight of what was actually going on around me.
Sure.
So I was in my early teens whenever I was going to regular independent wrestling shows out on the East Coast with my mom, traveling. I was learning how to set up the gimmick table and work people and say, all right, well, two for 20 instead of like 1 for 10. So I was like, hey, you should get 2 for 20. And they're not going to say no to a little girl. So I was learning how to like make money and set up the table and set up the chairs and learning how everything worked in the back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's an education, isn't it?
Uh-huh. So we were at a show down in Columbia, South Carolina. And my mom was looking at me and she was like, well, is this something you want to do? And I was only 14. And I said, yeah. And she was like, go ahead, get in there. So I got into the ring before the show even started, and I got to work out with some of the guys on the roster. And they're like teaching me how to bump and teaching me how to run ropes. And I was so sore because the biggest thing that I had a trouble with, like training, was learning how to tuck my chin. Like it was, I don't know why it was so hard for me, but I could not figure out how to tuck my chin whenever taking a bump. So I would.
So how many times did you knock yourself out, kiddo?
Okay, knock myself out, never, but get so dizzy that I had to like dip out of the ring, go puke in an alley, and then roll back into the ring and keep taking bumps because I had to learn how to do it. So I was so sore. I could not lift my head up off the pillow the next morning. And my mom was like, is this something you want to do? And I'm like, hell yeah. So I continued to train all the way up until I was 18 before I actually started having matches. So I trained
so now
4 years.
This was something, I just want to make sure I understand. This is something that you wanted to do and not something that mama pushed down your throat.
Oh, no, I was never forced. Ever. Like, my mom has been so supportive and so, like, encouraging. And she always taught me, one thing you'll know is that my mom was never in Playboy. She was never one of the scandalous girls that everyone heard about. My mom was always that respected woman. She was one of the boys. So she taught me how to have that mentality and not go out there and be dumb and get drunk and hook up with a bunch of guys and sleep my way to the top. My mom taught me, all right, respect yourself, hone your craft, and figure it out. Make a name for yourself.
Good for you. Good for you.
She's the only one that can take the bumps. I can't do it for her. She's the one that's got to get herself over, not me.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? She comes from good stock, Nickla. She really does. You know, one of the things that that I can tell you, Samantha, about your mom that maybe you know and maybe you don't know. She was always a woman and still is a woman of great integrity and honor. And she's not going to do anything to shortcut her way, never did. And I suspect never will. So you come from good stock, kiddo. You really do.
Thank you.
Well, I never wanted to do anything that when my girls were little and growing up that they would be embarrassed by. I never wanted to have my girls go, oh my God, my mom did that, and then be embarrassed for something that I did. And I think to this day that I upheld that, because there's nothing worse than I mean, I know I've embarrassed my kids before, but not because of something like that.
And in fact, you've gone to great lengths to avoid those kind of situations. And I'm sure you've been offered, you know, the nudie magazines and the Playboys and that sort of stuff, but you've really gone way to the other side. Mm-hmm. And even regardless of the money or the lure of it or whatever, you've never done that, and thankfully you never have.
No. Well, my dad was very respected in this business, and so was my mother. And it's like I never wanted them to be embarrassed for something that I did. I never wanted the boys to go, Nick, guess what your daughter's doing, and have the shame of going home and facing my dad. Yeah. Because my dad, to this day, people still come up and tell what a really good guy he is and the respect that they had. And it's really cool, like the Romero kids, you know, put over my dad how cool that they were, and you know how good my dad treated everybody. And it's just a legacy that I wanted to have and that I wanted to pass down.
Well, I tell you what, you've done an amazing job. Samantha, you seem like a level-headed, grounded young woman. You know, you seem like a normal young lady.
We are not normal.
I was going to say, you know, for as normal as you can be, you know, in the wrestling business.
Like how much they train. For 2 years, this girl went to college full time. She wrestled on the weekends, and she worked full time at Sonic skating so that she had money for college and to live on. So she did that for 2 solid years and graduated college. So between my 2 daughters, they've got 3 college degrees. I'm so proud of both of them. It's just amazing the things that they've done. I'm so proud of them.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. Samantha, had you not gone into wrestling and pursued college, what would your career have been?
Okay, so I went to school for culinary arts. So I'm actually like a licensed chef. Yeah, I'm a licensed chef. I have several different certifications. Yeah. Don't piss me off. I'm so good with a knife. And then after that, I've always maintained a job. I actually owned a Sonic Drive-In for roughly 2 years. I was the owner and an operator of a Sonic Drive-In restaurant.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I sold it back in July. I realized I took my store from being 7th in the area to 1st in the area across the entire board. And it wasn't, I didn't feel like I climbed that mountain. I didn't feel that satisfaction. I didn't feel that, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. I was like, on to the next thing. So I sold my store. I'm thinking about getting my pilot's license next. I've gotten to fly a plane about 3 times now. I really like it.
Good for you.
And yeah, so right now I'm just trying to figure everything out.
Well, one day at a time, one step at a time.
Of course.
You know, you're still very new in this. You don't know what doors will be opened or when they will open. Some people, you know, they make a name for themselves right away, and then you never hear from them again. Right. And then there are people like yourself who take their time and build a reputation and establish relationships, and they stay around for a very long time. So, Gary, you've got 2 amazing women here tonight. Talk to them.
How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Gary.
So, I like to know, you know, how was it being with Tully Blanchard at the time?
Oh my gosh, it was a learning experience. It was something that you definitely just sat there and listened and learned from everything that he said, because he was such a good heel. And I had worked with Jake quite a bit in World Class Wrestling. And then to go to Tully and working with Tully and Dusty, it was almost magic, because I was working with the best of the best. And Tully knew how to get heat, and he knew that just by giving me little points of what to do in the match and how to follow him, it's amazing to be able to piss 20,000 people off just by doing certain little things and getting the heat, and people hate you and they don't even know you.
Yeah.
You know, Nickla, Tully could start a riot just with a look. You realize that?
Oh, yes.
He could. Just with a look. He could piss off a whole arena full of people just by looking at them.
Right.
So now, Samantha,
yeah,
let's talk about something here. So I've seen some matches of yours. Now, not quite sure what to make of you. I want to say you're a face, but I want to also say you're a face with an attitude.
That's pretty accurate.
Okay, so where's the line between face and heel with you? Because you're in this tightrope, you know that, right?
Yeah. So I'm really, really pretty. So either people love that,
No,
or they hate
for real? Really, honestly?
Oh my God, right? So it's actually a fine line, because it's so easy for the little kids to, oh my God, I want to be like you. I want to grow up. I want to kick ass, and you're just amazing. And then it's really easy to turn that and use it to manipulate people. And for people to believe that I wouldn't do those horrible things. I wouldn't choke somebody out, or I wouldn't punch them in the face. It's really easy to play that manipulation. Right. Because who would believe that I would hurt anybody?
I think we lost Gary. Did Gary fall down?
Gary, I know your shirt says I'm fine, but are you? Gary's gone.
That's okay.
Gary fell out on us.
That's okay. We'll just continue without him. This is live. We can't change it. So let's talk about some of these people I watched this week. So Stormy Lee, that was a really interesting match. You and Stormy Lee.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'm watching this match and I'm seeing maybe you're gonna go into this match as a face, and very quickly, you went from this cute little blonde hair, blue eye, oh look at me, to a freaking killing machine. So what was your heat with Miss Stormy Lee? Talk to me. Walk me through that match, young lady.
Well, I've actually wrestled Stormy Lee a couple times. So which match was it?
This looked like, I wanted to say, oh God.
Was it inside or was it outside?
It was outside. Yes, it was outside.
So that was Brawl at the Beach. That was for OSCW at the Wind Gym in South Carolina.
Yep.
All right. So I'm a no bullshit kind of person. So I can play nice. I can play nice, but as soon as I get the opportunity, I will take it to take over the match, control the match, and win. So I've dealt with Stormy Lee a few times. She's a great wrestler, but she is also known for antics. Her husband was actually on the outside of the ring at that match.
Yes.
So I have to be vicious and protect myself at all times.
Well, you're like fighting two people.
Yeah.
Well, look, when you're fighting one against two, you use whatever you have available. And that's called evening the playing field.
And see, in that match, I did not cheat.
And I think in the rule book, Nickla, it says that you can do that, if I'm not mistaken. I think it says you can even the playing field if necessary.
Absolutely.
So she just took a little license with the rules. That's good. I'm proud of you.
And if the referee doesn't see it, it didn't happen.
Now, there's another match I watched and I want to talk about. Maria Manic. Now, this woman, she's got a little, I don't want to say emotional problems. Let's just say she's nuts, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So how do you deal with somebody that's clearly crazy?
Hit harder.
Be crazier than they are.
Walk me through that one. That was an interesting match.
So if that's the match that I'm thinking about, she's in pink, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So that was actually my third match of the night. So I was in an elimination style tournament.
Oh, okay.
I had already taken on 2 other opponents, Penelope Ford and Brittany Blake. So that was the final match to crown the first ever Women's Fire Championship up in Maryland.
Yes.
So you can imagine one match against Maria being tough. But imagine after taking on 2 other opponents that had completely different styles and then going to a match. And we fought, like, because she's bigger than I am.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure, yep, I was the champion. So I'm tougher. So I actually still hold that championship. No one's ever beaten me in that promotion.
Mm-hmm.
So she's
Does she have kind of the Barbie look?
Yeah, she used to. Since then she's become the man eater. So you want to talk about nuts? She's dyed her hair black, has man eater tattooed across her stomach, and has done a lot of hardcore stuff since then.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe I just chased her out of women's wrestling.
Well, speaking of somebody that needs to be chased out of women's wrestling, there's a young woman I want to talk to you about. I almost felt bad. I did feel bad. A young lady named Mandy Leone.
Okay.
Clearly outmatched, clearly not trained well or properly. When you go into a match like that with somebody who's clearly lacking skill, what is your only defense? What do you do?
Okay, so Mandy.
Yeah, I'm going to go there, Babydoll. You know me.
So Mandy Leone is actually trained by Ring of Honor. She's actually one of the Women of Honor girls. So
yeah, well, guess what?
Outside of the ring, I respect her completely. I respect every person that I share the ring with.
Okay.
So if you're ever in a situation where the person isn't trained or they don't know what they're doing, you always, and one of the first things that I've ever learned how to do is protect myself. So I'm never going to give somebody my body if I don't trust them. I'm never going to put myself in a situation where I can actually get hurt. Thankfully, I've never had a serious injury in wrestling because I always learn to protect myself.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been around a long time, and I've seen workers that are trained properly, and I can instantly tell. Mm-hmm. Ring of Honor aside, whether that's respective or not, I don't know, and I don't care. Quite frankly, she wasn't skilled. She should not have been in the ring with you. She could have hurt you. And the fact that you actually got out of that match with some semblance of a victory is amazing. You don't have to say it. I will. She needs to get her money back if she paid for training. So if Ring of Honor did in fact train her, shame on you. Shame on you. Don't ever put a woman in the ring unskilled and untrained because you're going to hurt somebody. Gary.
Yes, sir.
Talk to Babydoll.
So also, like, I said, how it was being a taller engine. What about being Jake the Snake, growing up with that?
Jake the Snake actually opened up the door to the TV studio the very first day that I worked for World Class Wrestling. We hit it off. We're like really good friends. We've been friends since like 1984. Gino had a Corvette and went on road trips, so I very rarely got to travel with him. Jake and I traveled more together, and he taught me a lot. And he taught me a lot about being a heel and slowing down and doing interviews. And to this day, I call him my friend. He's a really, really good guy, and I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, I've met Jake a couple times, and it's always been a good thing with him. Learning from him, he's He loves to talk. He loves to tell you stories. He loves to tell you about how you're wrestling, how you look out there.
Well, you know, Nickla, let me.
Wait, I've got a really, really cool story about Jake.
Okay, great.
Whenever I was a little girl, my dad had a wrestling promotion in Lubbock, Texas, and we had the Sheik come through. And the Sheik and the Super Destroyer had like a summer working for my dad that we had amazing crowds for. One of the matches, we had like an Arabian death match, and my dad had 4 truckloads full of sand brought in and brought around the ring so that it was an Arabian death match. And we also had a snake called Captain Crunch that he would carry down to the ring and do his deal with the snake. And then I'd hold the bag open for him, and he'd put the snake in the bag. And it was a really cool production. It was really cool to put the Sheik over that way. Well, the Sheik was up in Detroit wrestling, and he was talking about how my dad was taking care of him and the crowds, how cool it was to go down to Texas and work. And so everybody was talking about the promoter, Nick Roberts. Well, Jake was in the corner, like getting ready to do his match up there, and he's like in the middle of like gimmicks, and he's not quite sure what he's doing. So he's going, Jake the Snake Roberts. So he actually got the Roberts, because Jake's real name is Smith. And so he got Jake the Snake Roberts from actually hearing this Sheik tell a story about Lubbock, Texas, and my dad. And then like 10 years later, we're working together in Dallas, Texas.
Why is this the first time you're telling that story on the show?
Because you're special and not everybody knows that.
You know, I got to tell you something. I knew that story.
All right.
I did. You got to remember, I'm old. I've been around a long time. I heard that story. I heard that the Sheik, Eddie Farhad, by the way, was the Sheik.
Right.
I heard that story, and I heard that he actually gave Jake his name. In fact, he did that to a couple of people.
Well, then that's
Dick the Bruiser.
Well, if you've got one person telling the story, then it's the truth.
Yep. And Dick the Bruiser was another one. She gave Dick the Bruiser his name.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and I know that because I spoke to Dick the Bruiser's son-in-law, who's a friend of mine. He's actually going to be on the show in about 3 weeks. Scott Romer. Scott Romer from where the hell is it? He's from Detroit. I forget. Oh, God, forgive me, Scott. I forgot the name of your promotion already. So much going on. So Samantha, let's talk about this. So a little birdie whispered into my ear that you are being looked at and talked about for a phone call. Do you know about this? No. A little birdie, a friend of mine in Florida, says that they're looking at you.
For which one?
For the Performance Center.
Oh, wow.
Do you know about that? Because I want to be the one to break the news to you.
All right, go ahead, break the news.
They're looking at you.
Well, that's awesome.
That's the news.
Who's your
They're
source?
looking at you. Yeah. See, I'm old. You got to remember something. I'm going to tell you, I'm old. I know a lot of people. Let's talk a little bit about somebody who I have to put over big time, especially you and her in the match that you had, Brittany Blake. That match the match I saw was a clinic, and I'm going to call it what it is. It was a clinic in what to do right in women's wrestling. It was a respectful match. It was back and forth. It was 50-50 up until the final pin. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about working with Brittany Blake.
Brittany and I have always had really good chemistry. We have 2 very, very different styles, but we have that level of respect. We know what it takes to go out there and actually put on a good match.
And you know something, Samantha, I have to tell you, not to interrupt you, but I think that's exactly what you just said is the reason I think that match was so amazing, that your styles are different. And they complement each other. Opposite styles complement each other in the ring.
Exactly.
If you went into the ring with someone of your similar style, it would have been a cluster. It really would have. And I think the fact that you guys have, such respect for each other, but such different styles is what made this the match I call the clinic match. Mm-hmm. Because it really, really worked. So walk me through that. Did you go over the match, or did you just kind of like we do, call it in the ring? How do you like to prepare for matches?
Normally with a lot of sugar, and that's about it. Everyone's different. Everyone has different feelings and different chemistry in the ring. So I don't call it. We go out there and we figure it out, and the best one wins. That's the way it should be.
You don't know how happy you made me.
Yeah.
And your mother will tell you, I am, and I said it on the last time that Mama was here, I just do not like people that spend 45 minutes in the back going over an 8-minute match.
Right.
There's no need to go over spot for spot in a match.
It takes from the realism of it. It takes away from the, like,
you're not involving the crowd. You've got to involve the crowd. Otherwise, you're just walking. You're just dancing. You're not. It's like a script. Rather than listening to the crowd and what the crowd wants, you've got to give the crowd what they want. And then right when they think that they're going to get it, then you take it away.
I want everybody to hear what she just said. This is a young lady that's still a greenhorn in the business, figuratively speaking. And quite literally, too. But you talked about something that is passionately missing from wrestling. Realism, storytelling, psychology. You're fortunate because you have, look who your mom is. And look who your mentors were. I mean, having Steve Williams babysit you and feeding you beef jerky, that's a learning curve.
Right.
And I knew Steve Williams, rest his soul, and I liked Steve. And I knew Bubba, and he was a trip, But one of the things I can tell you is that as a casual fan, and I describe myself that way, the storytelling's missing. It's gone. The psychology is non-existent. Mm-hmm. The realism, you may as well just, I think when they started calling what we do sports entertainment, it took a big giant shit on the business. And thank goodness for companies like AEW that are calling it professional wrestling again.
Well, when you were talking about like Tully and asking what it was like to work with him, one of the main things that he explained to me about was that there might be 5 to 7 matches on the card, and that all of them, people may not believe that it's true, but the one match that they're going to believe is the match that Tully's in. There's not going to be a question in their mind whether that was real or not. They're going to go home and go, all the rest of that was fake or whatever they want to call it. But then that Tully Blanchard, that was real. Without a doubt, whatever Tully did was real. And you look to this day, everything that he did was just so tight and so
absolutely
that there wasn't any question. You knew that, okay, the rest of it, okay, well, maybe, but Tully Blanchard was in the ring. There was no doubt.
And Nickla, I'll tell you who that person was for me. I grew up on the East Coast with Vince McMahon Sr.'s Worldwide Wrestling Federation. And that person for me was Bruno Sammartino.
Right.
You could say anything you want about wrestling. Wrestling was fake. It was, choreographed. It was predetermined. But when Bruno wrestled, that was real.
Right.
The other matches were fake.
Right.
But Bruno's match was real. Why? Because he was a champion. And Tully was champion as well for a very, very long time. For the majority of his career, he was a champion.
Well, he almost always had a belt. He had like the national belt, and then my favorite was always a TV title with the red leather and the silver. That was one of my favorites. And then he had tag team titles like with Arn. But
yeah, exactly.
You either have a belt or you're chasing them. So that's the main story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now, young lady, Samantha Starr. I love the name, by the way. Who came up? Let's talk. Before I ask you a question, I got to find out where the name come from.
Okay,
Because we must,
let me tell the story.
Yeah,
Okay.
on this show, this is a no kayfabe zone, Nikki. So you know that.
All right.
Michaela Smith.
Well, I have two daughters by Sam Houston. My
Right.
first daughter is Micah Tyler. And whenever I was in high school, there was a little boy that rode his bike around the track, and his name was Micah. And I fell in love with the name. I always thought that if I had a child, I would name him Micah. Whether it was a girl or a boy, it was going to be Micah. So Micah got her name from a little boy that I knew in high school. And he was probably like 4 or 5 years old. And it was kind of sad because his mom would actually lock him out of the room or the house from like 2 to 4 o'clock. So he would come over and would retrieve the discus for me, the shot put, and had the little silver teeth because he had bad teeth, but just really cute. Now, Tyler came from Steven Tyler because I really, really loved Aerosmith and Steven Tyler. So her name is Micah Tyler Smith. Then when Michaela came along, I was trying to figure out, okay, what names do I want? What names do I want? So I really like the name Samantha Starr because then it would be Samantha Starr Smith and have SSS as the initials. But when I got to thinking about it, it was like, oh, that kind of sounds like a stripper name. So I thought Samantha Starr. So I named her Michaela.
I love it.
From Micah. So I had Micah and Michaela. And then her middle name is Joy because whenever I was pregnant with her, she always would make circles with her feet like she was singing. And it was just so funny because she would be like, la-di-da-di-da-di-da. And I knew that she was going to make a lot of people happy. So her name is Michaela Joy. Well, then when she went into wrestling, the name Samantha Starr just fit because that's, it gets your name, it gets your attention. It's really cool. It's sexy. It's great. It's perfect.
So you were already thinking gimmick when she was younger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, always thinking of the business.
Right. And I thought Michaela, no one had the name Michaela back then. So I thought that was unique. But actually, if she was a Samantha back then, it would have been unique. So I kind of got it twisted up. But either way, both names fit her perfectly.
It worked. Look, it works. And when something works, you stick with it. It's beautiful. I love that. And you can't make up a story like that. It has to be true. Because if Nickla Roberts is telling you, look, that's the way it is.
Well, Asgard Anderson, I am brutally truthful. I always tell the truth, and he'll vouch for that.
I'm sure he will, and we will have that opportunity in the upcoming months. We've already been in contact with Arn, and I think he's going to do the show.
Super guy.
Yeah. And after we get off the air, I need to find out about that other guest I've been waiting for like forever to get.
Oh, I thought you'd already reached. I'll help you with that. I'll get it for you.
Yeah. See, we get guests like Samantha Starr and Nickla Roberts because we're nice people and we're kind and generous, but we also bribe the hell out of them. That's how we get them to appear. We bribe them.
Listen, I've got to put a 5-year-old to bed, so why not? We have one more question and we're going to duck out of here.
You got it. Okay. So go ahead, Gary. I'll give this one to you.
Right. I would like to know, how was it to be a part of Jim Crockett Promotions, especially in the prime of that promotion, and what
good question.
How territories had started to change. How was it being a part of that?
It was so magical because, like on some of the shows, you didn't know where the building was, but you just followed the cars to the building because there were so many people going to the show. Working with like Flair and Tully and Dusty, Arn, Jim Cornette, the Midnight Express, I was working with the absolute best of the best, and we were making like super money. We were making more money than we could spend. We got to travel. The first year that I worked with them, I only had 15 days off the whole year. I think Tully only had 10 because he went down to Puerto Rico for a trip. Um, it Little did we know that like 35, 40 years later, people would be watching what we did, and I
It's
guess
amazing, isn't it?
it really is, and it's very humbling for me to know like how many households I'm in because of the posters and the magazines, and
Yeah,
back then it was like the VHS and the beta tapes. It's
yeah.
very humbling to look back now, and it's one of the things I really like to do is like with the legends and the fan fest, is people walk up and they see you and it's like they're 8 years old all over again. And they remember
Yeah.
being on the couch, like with a grandparent that's no longer with us, and remembering that grandparent getting so mad at the wrestling show because we cheated on Dusty or Flair got the best of somebody, and they'd go shut off the TV and swear that they'd never watch wrestling again. But yet
Yeah.
Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock, watching
Yeah.
again, and it was just a really, really just special time, and I was so blessed to be a part of it.
I say that every single day. That I'm not going to watch
Right.
wrestling anymore.
Yeah. Well, the guy who owns much of the footage and all of the photographs of the Crockett era, George Pantis, he's a friend of mine, and he's coming on the show. And Nikki, I know that you know George.
Oh yes.
And George will be on the show talking about Mid-Atlantic at Crockett, and he will also be here to pay special tribute to our late friend Jeff the Ref.
Right.
So they were very dear friends. Nickla, thank you so much for.
Happy birthday in Greek every year.
Yeah. Did he ever sing it to you? Did he ever? Oh my God, it's funny.
I get the big Greek kiss every month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, George is probably the best friend wrestling has right now.
Awesome. Well, listen, thank you so much for having us back on.
You.
And I will get with you tomorrow on your other guest. I will work on that.
Thank you so much. And Samantha Starr, we're going to have you back on all by yourself.
Okay. Just let me know when.
You got it. Thank you, young lady. Take care. Nickla, have a good night. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. It's just you and me, Livid.
All right.
How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm terrific. That was nice to have Babydoll and Samantha Starr on for a little bit. I know that they were limited tonight, so she just got back from Texas, and it was a long trip for her. So I'm very grateful and thankful to have Babydoll for as long as we did, and to have her daughter with us tonight too. That was a nice treat.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you and this crazy, wacky world of wrestling. So you started as a fan. You watched it growing up.
Yep.
And you got bit by the bug at a young age.
Oh yeah. I guess the first really ones to grab me was the Rock and Roll Express.
Oh, Rick and Robert.
Yeah, I would just to watch wrestling in my house. I'd wear the bandanas on my hand, my wrist, and my legs. I had the sleeves cut off my shirt.
Oh, you was gimmicked up, brother.
Yeah, and then Ronnie Garvin was one of my big favorites.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Hands of Stone.
Yeah, I love Ronnie. I've met Ronnie a few times, and every time I've talked to him, it's turned into a 2-hour conversation. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he really is. Nice guy.
And then once just as wrestling was progressing, Sting, and that was probably it. That was the person I think that really put me over the edge to say that this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to be. I want those kids to be cheering for me just like that, because he was above everybody. He was above Hogan, Brett,
Oh, sure.
all of them. People can say
People
what
don't
they want.
realize how big a star Sting really was.
He was. He was a trendsetter for sure.
He really was, and it's a shame that Even now, I don't think he gets the kind of credit he deserves, and that's just my opinion. But I was always a huge, and I'll tell you straight up, I marked out for Sting.
Yeah,
I was always a huge mark for Sting.
Yeah, I've got many photos of me at Norfolk Scope with my face painted, wearing a Sting shirt, out there just having a ball.
You were one of those crazy people that painted yourself up?
Oh yeah, man, I went all the way out from like age 7. I was painting about 8. Age not 8 or 9, I started painting my face like Sting till probably I was 13.
Well, let's talk about that. Painting your face. You're still painting your face.
No, actually, it's a mask.
Oh, I was going to ask you, where did Livid come from?
I've always loved clowns, and I mean, since I was really little, like my grandma would always buy me little knickknacks and statues and stuff of clowns, and I loved going to the circus. And I was never one of them kids that cried. I thought it was great. Thought it was funny. Loved clowns.
It's funny. You just said something really important. Clowns are supposed to make you laugh. Why is it that kids cry when they see clowns? What is it? What is it about clowns that scare the shit out of us?
I think it's the I would say it's the makeup. It's the fact that you can't see somebody's actual identity.
Interesting.
I think that's the psychological part about that. Is it's so much unknown and it's not normal. Like especially for a little kid, you see your mom and dad, no makeup, no wig, or nothing like that. Every day of your life, and then all of a sudden, boom, you got somebody with white, blue, red, green, all over their face.
Yeah. So when you're doing Livid the Clown, how does psychology play in your matches?
Lots of comedy, for one.
Yeah.
And
at the beginning of this, I joked, I kind of ribbed you a bit, saying that Livid was evil, vile, disgusting. The truth is, I can't put you over enough. That's a great gimmick. Great gimmick. You trust me, you've earned it. It's a great gimmick. Yeah. So now, how do kids
still to this day though?
Yeah, well, how do kids respond to you?
When I first started, I was a heel, and it's I always loved heels growing up. Even though I had my favorites like Sting, like Cactus Jack, Big Van Vader, Sid Vicious, those guys were awesome to me.
Yeah,
whether they were heels and things they did. So that was my first, what I really wanted to have Livid as. And the Livid stood for the lost individual venturing in the darkness.
Oh Jesus. Wow.
Yeah. And so I got so much heat before I even got in the ring. I would hand out balloons. And then after I was done handing out the balloons, I go back around to where they handed out the balloons and I pop them with a needle. And
wow.
So
you started as a heel. When did your face turn come?
Well, it wasn't even a planned turn at all. I was working for a promotion, and they had a guy that was kind of like in the middle of heel face. He was an in-betweener. But a lot of people didn't like him, his gimmick, as his attitude, how it was. He was trying to be full heel, but some people liked him just the way he wrestled.
Well, I mean, you either have it or you don't. I mean, you're either a natural heel or you're not.
Yeah, and so I pulled a Sting that night.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I got him to kill all the lights in the building, and then I showed up in the ring. Because that's what Sting was doing during the Crow version of himself.
Sure.
Just appeared, and so I did that. I was standing in the ring behind them when the lights came back on. Crowd lost it. I mean, just lost it. And he turned around, got scared that the clown was in the ring with him. I clotheslined him out of the ring, and fans still were just going off, cheering. Then the next show I came out, and it was a full eruption.
And where was this?
They literally turned me face.
Where was this? When did this take? What city?
It was here locally in Norfolk. It was a company called HCW that I
Okay. Interesting. So the crowd, you didn't have to do anything. It was the crowd that did it for you.
Yeah, there was no plans. There was no plans for me to go face at all. I was going to be a heel for as long as I could.
Now, see, that's an interesting dynamic that's happened a couple of times in wrestling, where the crowd dictates to you what you're going to be.
Yeah.
So now, when the crowd put you over that night as a face, did that come as a shock to you, or did you kind of expect it?
No, it was a shock. It was a shock altogether. Like, because, I mean, the point of what I was doing was to put him over more as the baby.
Yeah.
And like,
and it backfired.
The fact of me scaring him and attacking him, like, I was trying to make sure I was known or the match that was going to be coming, that I was the heel. And
yeah,
the fans just
so it backfired on them big time.
Yeah, so the fans just did what they wanted, and I've been a face ever since. And I went from being just a normal face to being a baby, like especially at BCW.
Now, are you face everywhere you wrestle? Because I know you're currently working for a half a dozen promotions, and you travel quite a bit.
Yes.
And I know that I've done some research on you. You're working for that I know of 7 promotions right now.
Yeah.
Face
total about I think 27 companies.
Right, but ones that you're working for steadily, there's like a half a dozen.
At least 7 to 8 that we steadily try to get in our schedule. It's just so tough with everybody running on the same weekends.
I know.
Like that. So it's really hard to do. And me and my tag partner, Wes Danger Rogers, we're Simply Safish, and we're face everywhere we go.
Right.
We're the safest team that it can be.
Now,
he's the safety guy, I'm the ish.
Right. It's interesting. You're talking about being a part of a tag team. We had, I guess, about 3 weeks ago, we had one half of the old school Empire on the show. Patch and Vinny the Fixer are a babyface tag team up in the Northeast area. They work for Dog Championship Wrestling, and I was talking to. It's interesting because Patch didn't make it that night, and we just had Vinny the Fixer on, and he's a guy much like yourself that started off as a heel, and the crowd turned him face in the match, and he said that he didn't respond to that all too well because he never worked face, and it was foreign to him. It it made him feel uncomfortable.
It really does.
That was going to be my question to you. How do you get over that? How do you get around that?
Well, kind of in a way that I did it, I just started another gimmick.
Oh, tell me about that. Walk me through it.
Yeah. One of my mentors in the business, Phil Brown, he had came up to me one night after a show, and he said, "You're great. You're a great performer as Livid the Clown." He said, "But when you are sending them videos and people are watching you, they're only seeing the comedy gimmick of a clown. They're not seeing exactly what you're knowledgeable in, what you really can do."
Yeah.
So I messaged another promotion that I work for, Next Evolution Wrestling, and I pitched the idea to them. And I said, "Hey, I got this idea to wrestle as myself, but not as myself, but as another gimmick." And I got a partner, which I was going to partner with him originally as a clown, and he hates clowns, but he was going to do it for me. And his name is Austin Shadows. And I messaged him one night, and I was like, "Look, hey, how about I'm going to be Jackson Shadows, you stay Austin Shadows. We're not doing clowns. We're going to be a demon fighting tag team. And it took us probably about a month and a half to figure out a name, and we became the Hounds of Hades.
Really? And how did that come about?
Just the stuff that we like. You know, we're both into heavy metal, stuff like that. And
so there's
he already had his gimmick as Austin Shadow, so we broke it into that. I was like I'm his blood brother, but I've been out of the scene, and we got back together after on the show, and we formed a tag team, and it was great. We hit it really hard, and we started getting booked all over. People were messaging us instantaneously that they wanted us to be on their show. And then about a year ago, we kind of went on a hiatus. Both of us were dealing with some things, so we kind of just took a break. And then Robbie took a little longer break to get some stuff going on that he had to deal with. And so then I just started being Livid again. And then that's when they threw me in with Wes to do a show, just a throwaway match, pretty much. They were throwing us in the match just to put somebody else over.
Gary, what do you make of this trend in wrestling with the dark themed characters? You know, we see it in WWE with Bray Wyatt, the Fiend character. There seems to be, especially on the indies, and you know, and I follow a fair amount of indie promotions, but there seems to be this trend in dark characters, gothic figures, heavy metal influenced figures, wearing the dark makeup, wearing, for lack of a better term, the Fiend mask. There's a lot of that among the indie circuit. Is that from lack of originality, or is there's something else at play that we don't know about?
I don't know about necessarily saying that it's a lack of originality. Because if you really think about it, like, that look has been in the business since the 80s. Just, it wasn't able to be projected as much because that's how things weren't. You know, it was old school. You had to act a certain way and do a certain thing. You know,
is that more like a return to characters, do you think?
I mean, look at where the Freebirds went from. You know, they went from a Southern rock.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what? Good point. Gary, that's a real good point. True.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there's some hot Atlanta hair band.
Yeah, Bad Street, right? Yeah.
So, you know, I mean,
so you were a fan growing up of the Crockett generation.
Yeah, that was the very first VHS tape I ever owned, was the Crockett Cup.
Now, you know, one of the things that we talked about heavily on this show with Jeff the Ref, rest in peace. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, I still haven't been able to make a post on Facebook. I changed my picture to him, but every time I've gone to start typing something to say about him, I just start crying and tearing up. And I just
brother, you have no idea. And I'm going to shoot straight with you and our audience tonight. I almost didn't do this show tonight. I'm going to be honest with you, because you can't replace Jeff the Ref, and so I said to myself, I'm not going to try. So I'll just bring in a guest co-host and see how it works out, and try different people on, you know?
Yeah.
I'm so
you having me on. It's an honor for you to ask me that, especially for him being on the show with you.
I wanted you on here, Gary, because I knew that you knew him, and that you spent time talking to him, and you probably have a story or two to share. And working for Vanguard, I'm sure you had more than a few stories to share, which I'm going to ask you to do in just a minute, because that's how we're going to end the show.
Okay.
But the one thing about Jeff is that, brother, he knew his wrestling.
Oh yeah, he did.
Oh my God, did he know his wrestling? And so it was hard to come on here, but I thought, you know what? He wouldn't want this thing to stop. In fact, his family told me that he would want this to continue. So that's out of respect and love for his family. That's why we're doing this tonight. And we will continue. So first of all, let me say thank you for joining me. You made my evening a lot more pleasant than it would have been. That's number one. Number two, I was quite frankly nervous to do the show myself. Although I would have done it with a smile on my face, it would have still been difficult inside.
Yeah.
But one of the things that Jeff always brought was a sense of history. And so in that note, you worked for Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and, you know, the new generation of it. Was there or is there any remnants of the old school in Mid-Atlantic today that we would recognize? Or is it a completely different company?
Well, it was, it had a very large ring. It was a 20 by 20 ring.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember when I ran the ropes the first time, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore tonight.
Get blown up.
I was like, this is crazy.
So you were like an arena-sized ring.
Yeah, I mean,
people don't understand how big a 20 by 20 ring is.
It is huge.
Now you probably work a 16 by 16
every weekend.
And people don't understand. You know, it's funny that we're talking about this, Gary, because Jeff and I actually talked about ring sizes on one show.
Oh, yeah.
How if your footing is off, if your stepping is off, the whole match changes just because of the ring size.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, like you know, people, they have a certain, you know, routine in the ring, you know, like by running the ropes. And it's not like it's a secret. If you watch wrestling, you see what they do. I mean, a ring, a 16 by 16, you're doing 2 steps, and that's it. You better be on the other side of that ring after that second step.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And like when the 20 by 20, after my second step, I was like, what am I doing? I did another step.
It throws your game off. People don't realize that.
It does. It mentally throws everything off because like you just have a sense of everything in the ring that you're trained in. And like just even locking up, you know, you're taking extra movements and everything's like, you know, you're setting up coming off of the ropes or just the ring placement yourself as bump, sell, and feeding is not going to change, but just the actual routine that you're used to of doing certain things is totally thrown off.
It's amazing how something as simple as the size of a ring can throw your whole game off.
Yeah, and like it was unreal when I worked there the first night when I found out that ring was from the WrestleMania 2, and like you know,
back up, hold on, back up. That was from WrestleMania 2.
Correct.
How the hell did they get that ring, bro?
They got it from a trainer. He was using it as a training ring, the Iron Claw, and he sold it to them, and that was the NWA ring.
Get out, Fritz von Erich, the Claw.
What's his name? Baron.
Oh, Baron von Raschke.
Yes.
Oh my God, yeah, Jim Van Raschke, sure.
Yeah, so he got the guy got the ring from him, and
I actually met Baron von Raschke. He was a hell of a nice guy. He really was. Great guy.
I've met him Arcade one year, I believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually met him at Cauliflower Alley Club. Yeah, I'm a member of Cauliflower Alley, and I met him at the Cauliflower Alley NWA 50th anniversary show. and actually he sat next to me the whole night. I spent the whole night with Baron von Raschke.
Yeah,
Great guy. Great guy.
Yeah,
So
man,
now let's talk about Vanguard. I'm sorry, say again?
I said, it's great to be able to spend time with people that you grew up watching and everything.
It's amazing.
It's surreal to me because no matter what anybody says, I'm a mark for wrestling to the day I die. And that's why I'm in this business, because I love wrestling and I'm a mark for wrestling.
Exactly.
You know, and I love being able to meet, you know, the people that I looked up to. Like one of my the closest people I've gotten to was Ron Simmons. Like me and Ron, they're like this now. You know, I love that guy to death. He is one. You know, we gentle, loving man.
I have to tell you, we tried to get him on the show, but I couldn't get him to return my emails. Maybe you can do something for me.
Ron's busy, man, so I'm sure he didn't.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure. Every time you turn around, he's doing an autograph signing somewhere.
Yeah, he is, man. He's a busy guy, and like what's really like nerve-wracking. It was probably the third time I ever met Ron, and I probably met him over 20 sometimes now. But it was the third night. I had worked the show with him and talked with him and stuff, and he always watches the matches. Always.
Yes.
When he's done doing what he's been paid to do, he sits behind that curtain and watches the matches. And I know that. So we're sitting in the locker room, and he was talking to me about the fact that I had changed from being Livid the Clown to doing Hounds of Hades. He's like, "Oh, you don't like being the clown no more?" And I'm like, "No, I just want people to see what I can do and everything." So I was like, "Hey, do you mind watching my match tonight? And so give me some feedback." And so our opponents come out. We're wrestling Noise Pollution, Max Morrison and Rock Richards, and we're the current tag team champions there at Shockwave. And so we come out, and we were like in-betweeners, like instantaneously with people. Like some people booed us, some people just cheered us the whole time. It was I could tell the guy that was gonna take his wife home, have her pregnant by the end of the night, he'd probably be still like, "Yeah, do it." It was crazy. And so we're in the ring, and the referee takes the belts from us, and then he's doing the circle. And then I look over, and here comes Ron out of the curtain with a chair, and walks over around to the hard cam side of the building, and sits down in the middle of the floor behind all the other fans. And I'm like, damn, you know, like,
are you kidding me?
But now I'm nervous, you know what I'm saying? Like,
oh my God.
I'm like, I should have never asked him to watch the match because he would have been
nothing like a little pressure, right?
Yeah, so we had a great match. Get in the back, and he comes up to me, he goes, "Man," he's like, "I don't have much to say bad about it." He's like, "Y'all brought him up, and then you brought him right back down. You brought him up, you brought him down." He's like, "You knew when to do something." He said, "Y'all really looked well." He gave me a partner a couple of ideas, gave me some ideas, even talked with Noise Pollution, gave them some ideas of what they should do. And
yeah.
All in all, he was really happy with the match. He thought it flowed really well. He thought the ending was great. And so like that meant a lot to me. And it was, I'll tell you what, I was expecting the worst because I swear I was messing up the entire time thinking about he's being out there. But after I watched the tape, it was great. It was a great match.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're talking about Ron Simmons, you know, Jeff the Ref had a Ron Simmons story. It started out exactly the way you started your story. He said that Ron Simmons came to Vanguard and sat by the curtain the whole night and watched matches.
Yep.
People went to the ring. People went back through the curtain, got changed. He said people did this all night long. He said at the end of the night, Ron Simmons gathered all the boys up in the back. He sat them all down and started to read the riot act to them.
Oh yeah, I've seen him do it quite a few times.
And I said to Jeff, I said, why did he do that? He said, because nobody asked him to look at their match. He said, that's what I'm here for, to give you guys critique and to put you over if you need to be put over, and to tell you what you're doing right and to tell you what you're doing wrong. And the fact that none of you asked me tells me that you all know what you're doing and I don't need to be here. And got up and left. And that's amazing. And Gary has disappeared. Well, oh, here's Gary. He's back. Oh, there you go.
That's Ron Simmons' belt. Signed by Ron Simmons.
Oh, there you go. And that's going to go up on eBay, right?
Nope.
That's a beautiful belt.
Thank you.
That's a beautiful belt. Well, so now we are we're going to feature a part of the show we call Remembering the Ref. And we're and I want everybody to tell an fun story about Jeff the Ref. So I'm sure you've got a couple of stories about the ref, so share one with us.
Yeah, I'll do one every week when you can't have me on. I think of one, me and my partner, we actually we brought Jeff into a match with us.
Oh Lord.
We were wrestling the Hellcats, and I had them in an abdominal stretch. So my tag partner made me grab hands with the guy on the Hellcats that was on the outside, and then Wes jumped down and made him grab Jeff's hand. And
God.
Wes grabbed Jeff's hand and then grabbed the fans. So they started, tugging and pulling, and Jeff pulled the Hellcat down. The Hellcat fell, and Jeff goes sliding down the whole rampway. He hit his knee all hard, couldn't get up. He's laying there. The fans are all falling back in there because they seen him fall back. So all the fans go flying all over the chairs.
Oh my God, that's funny. He never told that story.
And then we got in trouble for that because in Virginia, you're not supposed to touch people. So we had too much participation. And then we included Jeff, that wasn't a licensed wrestler.
Oh, that's right. Virginia has a commission still.
Yeah, I remember after we got yelled at, Jeff pulled me to the side and goes, "Thanks for putting me in the match."
I have to tell you, he always wanted to be a wrestler.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he always wanted to be a wrestler. So on behalf, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it.
No problem. It was good to see the smile on his face, just to be like, he always did anyway, being out there. He loved being the head of the security. He loved being a part of the locker room. Every single person in that locker room loves Jeff.
When's the next show at Vanguard?
What's that?
When's the next show at Vanguard?
It is the 14th.
March 14th, and that's I believe they're bringing Sergeant Slaughter in.
Yeah, we're bringing Slaughter in. There's going to be at Hampton High School in Hampton, Virginia.
And that's going to benefit the athletic department there?
Yes.
Okay, so it's we just lost Gary.
I'm here.
There you go. Okay, we lost your camera, Gary. I can still hear you.
Can you see me? Okay.
There you go. Yeah, so that's going to benefit the Hampton High School Athletic Department, March 14th. Vanguard.
That's George Panis' school.
Yes. And George is going to be on the show. We're going to have him on in 3 weeks.
Yeah, George actually tagged with Livid the Clown at Hampton High School one year.
Oh, you got to save that story.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, well, we'll save it for next week.
Yeah, because oh man, God, I need a whole show to just tell you how we got from one point to the actual match.
You can do that if you want.
I had to help him train. It was great, man. I got video of everything though.
We'll talk about that next week. That sounds like something we might want to do.
Okay.
So that's Vanguard Championship Wrestling, March 14th, Hampton High School, to benefit the Hampton High School Athletic Department with one and only Sergeant Slaughter. And say what's happening up here, Dog Championship Wrestling. The next show will be at the Max Fit Sports Center in Glassboro, New Jersey. Breaker Morant will defend his title against, I believe, what did they say? Oh, God, I'm so sorry, Breaker, I forgot. Vinny the Fixer and Patch will defend their tag team titles also that evening. There will be a special grudge match with Daredevil Dave Dahl. And I believe, oh God, I'm drawing a blank. I'm so sorry. I got so much going on in my head right now. Forgive me, folks. This is live. But again, the important stuff is Max Fit Sports Center, Glassboro, New Jersey, Dog Pro Wrestling, Dog Championship Wrestling. And that is Breaker Morant, Vinny the Fixer, Patch, Ray Jazz, Daredevil Dave Dahl. Oh God. Biggie Biggs will be there, among others. But for our show, Wrestling with the Future will continue. The refs, I want to thank Mike Kelleher, Jeff the Ref's childhood friend, for continuing that show for us. And we will appear live at the Icons of Wrestling Convention in Philadelphia. That will be at the ECW Arena at Swanson and Rittner Street in Philadelphia. We will have a special guest with us that day. It will be Grimlina from the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
She's one of my favorites.
And I know Grimmy is one of the favorites at Vanguard. She was the acting commissioner for a while.
Yeah, I'm her favorite clown.
Well, if you're around Philadelphia, come on up.
When is that?
April the 11th.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'll be around because I'm going to be in Mania in Tampa. We're going down that Wednesday. I think it's the 2nd or 1st, maybe. We might be going down the 1st, but we'll be there till that following Monday after Mania. So, yeah.
Okay.
And I think we have... I have to look at the calendar and see when our show is that following week.
Yeah, well, we'll be in Philadelphia, April the 11th, at the Icons of Wrestling at the ECW Arena, and that's co-promoted by Rob Feinstein from RF Video. And
Rob, I would love to go to that arena.
Yeah, that's a great building.
Yeah, I've never been there. I want to be there. I want to go so bad.
Oh, if you have an open invite.
All right, I appreciate that.
And bring the gimmick with you.
Oh, I will.
Absolutely.
He follows me around everywhere. It's like a redheaded stepchild.
I hear you, my friend. So on behalf of Gary Arnold, Livid the Clown, I'm Psychic Medium Angelo. Thanks for joining us. This one's for you, Ref. It was hard, but we got through it. Good night, everybody, and happy wrestling. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.